What is up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be showing you how to refurbish your headlights the proper way. I know there's plenty of videos out there that show you how to do it with a polisher, which is basically just sanding it down, polishing it. No additional methods other than like waxing and ceramic coating. Those ways work if you're in a pinch, but from experience, those only last maybe like 12 months, a year the most, if you take care of it. But the proper way to do it is to clear coat them. But today I'm going to be showing you how to do it yourself, how to clear coat them, and they will last 100 times longer. My headlights on my car personally have been clear coated for the past 2 years, and they still look brand new, which is the car that you see in the previous videos. I don't know if you can catch a glimpse of the headlights, but they've been cleared for a couple of years now, and the only thing I do is just wash and wax the car like normal. Just wax over the paint like any other regular paint, and it's fine. Okay, so getting started, here's all the tools you're gonna need. It's pretty straightforward. You don't need much other than the tools that you would need to take off the bumper if you decide to remove the bumper and remove the headlights, which is the easiest way to do it. But you can leave the headlights on the car. You just have to mask off any surrounding areas so you don't get overspray on it. First off, you need a source of water because you're going to be wet sanding these, whether it's a garden hose, spray bottle, even just a bottle of water to pour over. The clear coat, which is a must because you are going to be clear coating these, and various grits of sandpaper, because you need to fine sand the surface before you can spray paint it. Any rough scratches you will see through the clear coat. At the moment I only have 600 and 1000 grit. I did have more, but I used them all on other headlights that I worked on. 1000 grit is like the least, I would say, because even with 1000 grit, the clear coat still fills in those scratches pretty well, and it's not even noticeable. So anywhere between 600 up to 2000, even 3000 if you really want to get fancy. And then the tools that you need to take off the bumper. So when it comes to clear coating your headlights, you have two options. You can either remove the headlights completely, or you can leave the headlights on the car. You just have to mask off the surrounding area, and you really have to make sure you do mask it off really good, because clear coat overspray is a menace. It ends up everywhere if you're not careful. Even if you tape off the car 5 feet away, somehow it ends up getting clear coat. So you have to make sure you're in a controlled environment, not too much wind, and the air is still enough to where the clear coat will lay exactly where you spray it, because if not, you'll end up getting overspray clear all over the front of your vehicle. So the easiest way to do it for me personally, I would remove the headlights if you can. It's a lot easier, a lot quicker. It's worth it in the end, because if you try to mask off the headlight and do it that way, you just have to be very careful, because if not, then you end up getting overspray on the rest of the car. Now, not only do you have to remove the tape, but now you have to go back and remove the overspray somehow. Usually it's really difficult, and you would need to use something like overspray remover. So to keep from doing that, I would recommend just take the headlight off. So removing the headlight not only makes it easier as far as the process of painting it, it also allows you to get into all the edges where you have to sand. That would be very difficult to do so with the bumper and everything still on. Doing that, you'd have to tape off the edges as neatly as possible, so that way when you go to sand it, you don't accidentally scratch the paint. So long story short, remove the headlights. Here we go, the headlights are out. Here is a before of the headlights. You can see they're pretty dingy. As you can see how much sun this actually was exposed to for prolonged amounts of time. It started to crack because of the plastic got weak. And as you can also see, these spider line cracks. Now this, usually when a headlight gets to this point, I would recommend just replace it. I have tried getting rid of these in the past. It is very hard to do unless you sand down through an excessive amount of plastic, which I don't recommend. I believe this is from the actual plastic housing itself, if I'm not mistaken. So you would need a complete new housing in the front to actually get rid of this completely. When you clear coat these, it does hide it very well. Only if you stare hard enough you can see them, but if the customer or whoever's car you're working on is okay with having these, then it's fine. For example, these headlights, I think for a pair easily costs almost $1,000, maybe if not more, from Hyundai themselves. So obviously the most cost-effective thing to do here is to just sand this down and clean it up as much as possible and re-clear coat these. That way they would look somewhat brand new. It all depends on the situation. Another thing I wanted to point out too was these lights are HIDs, so the ballast is on the bottom. I'm going to try my best not to completely soak the headlight in water. So now I'm going to be clear coating the headlights. As you can see, there is a section down here where the headlight is pretty much still clear. When you're sanding, you want to sand that part anyway, even though it looks good, because if not, when you go to clear coat the whole thing, it's not going to adhere right. It basically makes a completely smooth surface. So because, as you know, a rough surface holds more moisture than a completely smooth surface. So same concept with painting. Now here, it may look like the headlight is completely damaged because there is a clear part separated from the foggy part, which is the more damaged part. And you'll notice in most headlights, actually pretty much all headlights, the upper level of the headlight is more damaged than the bottom because the sun hits the top. Once you clear coat it, the clear coat will completely hide all of this nasty stuff. So as far as the clear coat goes, I usually use a 2K clear coat. They're usually about 20 bucks a can, which is pretty expensive, but it does give a professional finish, almost like car paint. This one does as well. You just have to be more careful with it because it's not as forgiving, as this is a 1K clear coat and it's from Duplicolor. Not saying they're a bad brand, but it's like a normal spray paint. This is a lifesaver if you don't want to order the professional clear coat. It pretty much gives similar results, and you can find this at any AutoZone for about, I believe it's 15 bucks, $18, so fairly cheap compared to the $25, $30 cans of clear coat. And I feel like you get more use out of this than you would a normal can of clear coat. Another thing that I want to mention is, aside from making sure the headlight is clean, you also want to make sure that the paint itself is a little warm to the touch, like room temperature, because it will come out more finer of a mist as opposed to when it's cold. You know, it's sort of like the equivalent of pouring cold syrup versus pouring a hot syrup for your pancakes. You notice the hot syrup runs a little faster and the cold syrup sitting in the fridge runs like molasses. So warm up your clear coat before you spray it. And you also want to make sure that when you're painting the headlight, try to have it in some sort of direct sunlight. I noticed that when you do that, you get way better results with the drying process and the curing process. Most of the time, if you try to paint your headlights or anything, if you try to paint them in like cold weather or very humid weather to where it's almost sticky outside, the paint will cure really funny, and sometimes they will dry with a white mark on them, and then you have to sand everything down again and paint it all over again, and it's just a pain in the butt. So make sure you're in on a hot day in direct sunlight for the best results. When you paint, you want to start off with a very light coat. Don't go too crazy, just like barely mist the lights at least 2 times. That would make sure that when you go with heavy coats, it would adhere properly and it won't leave weird little bubbles and ripples and whatnot. So as you can see from just doing that light misting, it already got rid of that weird like 2-tone line. So that's why I said it's okay if your headlights look all wonky looking after you sand it. Like you see right here, you can still see it a little bit, but over here, as you see from here to here, you can see a transition because I probably sprayed a little bit more clear on this area as opposed to that area. That's fine, as once I go back over with another coat or heavier coats, that will completely disappear. So I just finished painting the last coat of clear. I didn't film myself doing the heavy coats because I needed to concentrate on making sure that I didn't make any runs or drips, or I didn't overspray in some areas to the point where the paint kind of like coagulates and it looks really rough, or it looks like there's holes in the paint. I'm just waiting for the clear to cure enough to where I can put the lights back in. But as you can see, it practically looks brand new. So here's my headlight from when I told you guys that I painted this about 2 years ago. This was done with the 2K clear coat. The other headlights that I was working on was done with a 1K clear coat. And as you can see, it's not really that noticeable, but the orange peel from the 2K clear coat is a lot more controlled than the orange peel from the 1K clear coat. And as you can see, it looks a bit smoother right out of the can. So if you really don't want to sand them down and smooth them completely to make them look almost OEM, just go ahead and use the 2K clear coat. It will reduce the orange peel significantly. But if you don't really care for the orange peel or don't care about doing the finish sanding and buffing, then use the 1K clear coat. Okay, so today's the next day. I had to wait yesterday for the paint to cure a little bit so that way I can reinstall the headlights without leaving finger marks and whatnot. It did get late, so after putting everything back together, it was getting dark and you could really see the lights, but here's the result. As you can see, it's completely clear aside from the orange peel, but it practically looks like a brand new light. Like I was explaining yesterday, that all the marks and stuff that are left by the sanding and the weird 2-tone lines and stuff like that, all that disappears once the clear coat fully cures. The only thing that is left behind is, of course, the spider cracks that are part of the plastic itself. However, I will say yesterday when putting the lights back on, I did make an oopsie. I accidentally rubbed the top of the bumper corner against the headlight while trying to reassemble it. That's fine. It is pretty bad. It doesn't even look like a crack. It just looks like someone scraped it. But I can actually make a video on how to fix this in the future. So I just have to wait for the clear coat to cure, because I do need the clear coat to be fully hardened. Because to fix this, what you have to do is you have to wet sand it just enough to get rid of the abrasion here. Then you would go back, clear coat this one section, wait for that to cure, and then wet sand it one last time and polish it out. But I'll show you guys that later in another video once the headlight fully cures. So here's the result. If you guys like the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more content. I have something coming for my car that I plan to show you guys. That will be in a future video. I'm just waiting on stuff to get here. But like I said, if you like the content, give it a thumbs up. Or if you have any questions or any tips for me, leave me a comment. I'll be sure to answer you guys. And I know I don't have many subscribers, so if you would be so kind to subscribe if you're watching this video. But thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys soon.